The word for you today, Saturday, October 21st. Start living on purpose. Does your life have a purpose? Sometimes we just get up, we go to work, we come home, we go to sleep, we get up, go to work, and sometimes we can feel like we're just on a treadmill and we're not accomplishing anything, we're just going through the motions. Well, God has a lot more for us than that. The Bible is full of a lot of paradoxes, and our scripture passage today is one of those. A paradox is a statement that is seemingly or contradictory or opposed to common sense, yet it's true. It's kind of like some of these are biblical paradoxes. We give to receive. The last shall be first. We become great by becoming small. We see the unseen. In Proverbs chapter 11, verse 25, our scripture passage today, says, "A generous man will prosper. He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. He who refreshes others will himself be refreshed." What's it saying? It's saying that as a generous person is generous to other people, he will receive generosity. Does it really work? Does that really work? Yeah, it does. And just check it out in your life. You know, when I'm down spiritually or in a bad mood and feel a real lack of energy, if I will go and do something for somebody who needs help, somebody who genuinely needs help, I find a couple of things happen. Number one, first of all, I feel better. Number two, I have a lot more energy. Why is that? Here I was down, I was discouraged, I was tired, and actually by doing something, I became less tired and felt better. How does that work? Well, when somebody's in need, and again, a genuine need, and you're generous, somehow the money or time that you spend on that person is going to be returned to you. Now, we don't go and do things for people so we can get money. That's not the way that works. But we discover that by being generous with our time, by being generous with our resources, that God blesses us. There was a day when I had a lot of things to do, more things than I could get done that day. I went in early and I was thinking, okay, I got to get stuff done today. And I hadn't been there more than 10 minutes and somebody comes in and they need a time and I'm going, oh no, please go away. I don't have enough time to get stuff done anyway. But I sat there and as I listened to them, my heart began to turn towards them and we spent some time together and then we prayed and they left and here I am with part of the day gone and none of these things are done yet. You know, a funny thing happened. I got everything done that day, plus a few more things. How did that happen? God gives us biblical principles. He gives us truths. And he says, if you'll do this, it'll work. It'll work. Tithing is another thing that doesn't make sense. If you take 10% off the very top or whatever amount God tells you to give, if you take that to the very top and give it, it's amazing how there's enough finances for everything else. Just amazing. It doesn't make sense. It's a paradox, but it works. When God impresses upon us to do something, we need to do it. Whether we have the time, whether we have the resources, whether we have the energy or the want to, if we will be obedient to Him, you know what? He'll show us a purpose and He'll do so much for us. It's like a guy named James. He lived on the coast and he went out lobster fishing, hunting, trapping, whatever it is you do for lobsters. I don't know. I live in the middle of the United States. They came home with 122 lobsters. Wow, isn't that incredible? He got them, he put them in his freezer. That was enough. That was a year's supply for him for lobsters, a year's supply. Well, a friend of his came over and he asked his friend, would you like a lobster? And his friend said, yeah, great. So he gave him a lobster. And then he got to thinking, who else could use a lobster? And he kind of thought about that. And as the week went along, he'd given away all of his lobsters except for 3. He only had 3 lobsters left. He'd given all the others away to people. He was overly generous, wouldn't you say? Well, a few days later, he goes out into the garage where his deep freeze is, and there's this awful smell. Well, the electricity somehow had been disconnected from the freezer, and had been disconnected for a few days, and those 3 lobsters and everything else in the freezer stunk so bad. And he started to feel sorry for himself and started saying, man. And then he remembered, you know, if I had 122 lobsters in here, I lost them all. But as it is, I was able to give those to people. They weren't lost. The 3 for me are lost, but those weren't. And that's the way it is so much in our time in our lives. When we try to hang on to our time, we hang on to our resources. Okay, we've got it. But sometimes it stinks. But if we'll share with others, and we'll be generous with our time and our resources, God blesses in ways we couldn't even imagine. So today, would you be generous? God will show you a purpose for your life. Have a good day.